This is Making Stitches, and this is a very special Christmas episode looking back at this unusual year and sharing stitch stories from far and wide. Here's just a little taste of what's coming your way.
And all the madness, just having that crochet and those stitches to focus on, I think can be a really helpful distraction, and it's good for us. So keep crocheting and keep sharing.
Every week I would make my little crochet rainbows to go in the window, and while it didn't make everything, all my anxieties or my worries and concerns etc. go away, it did help me to sort of sit down and breathe.
Over sewing is that therapy of just forgetting all the difficult things that are going on and just feeling that space and seeing that space. All your listeners will know exactly what I mean. Whether they do crochet or knitting or embroidery, whatever they do, they will all understand that concept totally.
You see, that's what makes this stress blanket really quite meaningful and charactered, because I can spot, spare bits of yarn that my granny and my mum gave me from having made little jumpers or little projects for all of the kind of like grandchildren.
It's nice to have that focus, and at the end of the night, that's what I try to do, is sit down and take a few minutes for me, and not necessarily making anything in particular, just stitching away and just letting everything release through crocheting. It's just a way to just release everything, and it's just just a very, creative outlet, and I really enjoy it.
We were just short of 7,000 members, weren't we, on our Facebook group?
Yeah.
And now we're at 10,600, and that's just been since the pandemic started.
People will comment when they first join the group and say, "Oh, I'm very new to crochet, will I be able to do this?" So there is a lot of people that are quite new.
They call themselves lockdown learners.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Making Stitches. I debated about whether I should put this out at Christmas or not, but this has been a really difficult year for so many of us, and I just wanted to give you a small Christmas gift to say thank you very much for listening and supporting Making Stitches in this year of pandemic, lockdown, isolation and everything else that's been going on. In addition to that, I know that many people will find themselves alone this year over the festive period for many reasons, and I hope that if this is the case for you, that the next little while as you listen, this will make you feel as though you're amongst friends. Making Stitches was a product of the pandemic, believe it or not. I found myself stuck at home, as did everyone else who wasn't involved in important frontline key worker roles, and I needed something to focus on aside from my crafts, which took me away from everything else that was going on. One project I began as we went into lockdown was the Pandemonium Cal, or Crochet Along, created by the ladies from the Crochet Sanctuary. They released 2 parts each week, and it gave hundreds of us, perhaps even thousands of us, who were crocheting along at home in isolation, something soothing and repetitive to focus on. That gave me an idea for who I should contact to be my first guests. My podcast was a lockdown-inspired project. Why not kick it off by talking about another lockdown project? So I contacted Lisa Hesketh and Linda Rose Simonini, the crochet masterminds behind the Pandemonium Cal, and that interview became my very first Making Stitches episode. Well, since then, they've been very busy. In the absence of their real-life, in-person Crochet Sanctuary weekends, they took a leaf out of my book and set up their own podcast and hosted another Blanket Cal, a Christmas one this time. It was in 2 colourways, one called Christmas Eve and the other one Christmas Morning. And it seems appropriate to be speaking to them again at Christmas time, don't you think? Ladies, thank you very much for joining me for this special Christmas episode of Making Stitches. You were my first guests way back in the beginning. It's been quite a year, hasn't it?
It has. And we really enjoyed it, didn't we, Linda?
We did. It was great.
We very much enjoyed it, so thanks for having us back.
My pleasure. Well, you've been a bit busy. Apart from the fact that you've done 2 cals, you've got a podcast of your own these days.
Well, that is down to you. Do you know what? We actually enjoy talking about ourselves so much. We thought, let's do one. We don't interview people.
It's not professional at all, is it?
We're not professional, though, are we?
Not at all.
And there's actually been 3 cows.
Has that? Oh, pardon me.
Yeah. No, they stuck a sneaky one in after pandemonium.
Oh, the baby. The baby panda. Yeah.
Yeah. There was that many people asking how to make pandemonium smaller. As soon as they'd finished, Linda had already designed a baby pandemonium, which is now called.
I love the fact as well that everyone started calling it baby panda, to the point where we had a lady message and say, I want to see these baby pandas, I love animals, and we were like, I'm really sorry, but it's a blanket.
Yeah, so Linda had already designed that by the time people had finished pandemonium. Did we have any gap at all in between the...
Not much, really.
No.
Because we were making a Christmas blanket in the middle of summer, and it was really heavy and warm, which wasn't ideal.
No. So yeah, it's been busy. Very busy.
Absolutely. Well, can I just say how much I enjoy listening to your podcast and how much it makes me laugh. And I don't think I've got over the eggy clacker, I have to say.
Do you know what? If we knew how to edit them, they wouldn't be as unprofessional. But we just sit and have a laugh, don't we, Linda?
I think it'd be as enjoyable if we actually knew how to edit them, because we take out all the funny things. Like when we were doing the little promo part at the beginning to say that we were going to do it, as soon as we started speaking, Lisa had knocked a drink over, so it was all over the floor, and I'm trying not to laugh. So every time we're doing it, I'm staring at the corner because I can't look at Lisa because it's freezed up and I can't speak. Oh, it gets ridiculous sometimes, but we just go with the flow.
Just can't wait till this second lockdown's done so we can start again, because...
Yeah, it's hard when you're remote. You can't do it very easily, can you?
No, it's not.
Saying that we do some that we could just have ready to post if things happen, but by the time we get through one, we're just we need a break. Let's just not talk to each other now.
We're really technical, we are.
Oh, well, they're great fun to listen to. Absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed them.
Thank you. We love them. We like doing them. Just not as many as we would have liked, but it can't be helped at the minute, can it? So, yeah. So it's been busy, but I think it's kept our minds off of not being able to run our retreats, because that's been quite stressful. That's been really stressful, actually.
Quite a few sleepless nights and things worrying about.
So we have been able to run one, which was strange, wasn't it?
It was definitely strange. It wasn't exactly what we'd planned either, because it was at Halloween. So we were having a psychic come, and our psychic couldn't come, and so many different things. But it was really nice to be able to actually see everybody and host one, even if it was only one.
Yeah. So, but we had to obviously all the social. This new venue is really good because they host us socially distanced, so we've got exactly 2 meters in between each seat. So it's a huge room. Yeah, it's all socially distanced. We're all wearing face shields and sanitising and temperature checks in and out. But it was good. It was just very different. So hopefully this COVID will go away and we can get back to normal. That would be nice.
Yes, that would be brilliant. Get back to your crochet sanctuaries on a regular basis. I bet your regular people are really, really missing you.
Do you know, it's funny, isn't it, Linda? Because one of them started a Zoom chat, and there's not many that go on it, but
it's twice a week.
Yeah, it's kept them going, hasn't it?
Yeah, because at least we're getting to see people, and I think it's cemented friendships, because we were friends already because they regularly attend sanctuaries, but now it's I feel like I know so much more about all of them. It's it's really nice. And we have little in jokes and things, obviously, because we see each other
twice a week for at least sort of 3 hours in total. So yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you've still had a bit of the social aspect, even though you've not been in person.
Yeah. So like when they turned up at the sanctuary on that Halloween one, it was just like, oh yeah.
It's the same as when they were leaving though. Like when we did our last sanctuary before the whole COVID lockdown, we were all in tears when we were leaving because it was really sad, and it's like, when we're going to see them. But then when they left, like at Halloween, we were just like, oh yeah, see ya, and just sort of waved at them. And it didn't upset us because it was like, we're going to see them in a couple of days.
So aside from your sanctuaries and your virtual sanctuary and your one on Halloween, how would you say your crochet has helped you this year whilst all the craziness has been going on?
I think massively, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it gives you that opportunity to do something that's distracting. So I have anxiety disorder, so things get to me really easily, and sometimes it does stop me from crocheting because I just can't get into the headspace to do it. But if I try and get myself there, as soon as I'm crocheting something, I feel so much better because it's giving you focus, and you can cheer yourself up just like with a bit of yarn and a hook, and it's great.
The bad side is the spending during lockdown on yarn. Because you're not going anywhere and you've got more money, it's like, well, you've got a little bit extra because you're not going anywhere. Crikey, the deliveries have been pretty bad.
See, I was really good because I didn't actually buy much yarn during lockdown because I was trying to use up stash, which I'm still doing. But I know I'm going to get to that point where I've used up enough to make it valid for me to spend loads of money on other stuff. So it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? So like, I haven't really spent that much, but I have the intention of spending it soon. So
I think for me, it's been it's not really changed much for me massively because I've still been working and just from in here. So I think the only thing is not really going anywhere of an evening and on a weekend either. So I think evenings and weekends have just been non-stop crochet, which is nice.
Definitely. Well, it was quite interesting to hear that you've been stockpiling yarn whilst other people have been doing the pasta and the toilet rolls.
Well, there's a shortage of yarn, isn't there?
Is there? I didn't hear about that. Oh,
yeah.
cranky.
Apparently so. Apparently there's a shortage. I ordered. I got sent some vouchers a couple of weeks ago, and there was a cowl kit that I was wanting to get, and they were sold out of half of the colours and couldn't get restock. So it took ages to come, and then I had to pick alternatives. But apparently there is a yarn shortage, and when we were ordering for a Halloween, you could actually see, couldn't you, Linda, that a lot of stuff was out of stock.
Because literally the project that Lisa actually designed a hat for Halloween, and we were doing it in like a couple of colourways, and every colour that because I like really gaudy colours where Lisa's a bit more natural neutral, so every gaudy colour I picked, Lisa's like, no, they don't have it, and I'm like, I'm sure you're doing this to spite me, just so we have to get cream and grey. But we managed to get some colour eventually, but yeah, it was really strange. So like, because I mean, I nipped into Hobbycraft when we were out just before we went into the second lockdown, and I hadn't been in for ages, and I nipped in, and one of the staff members was like, I hope you haven't come for yarn because we haven't got any. And I sort of looked up the stairs and they only had like yellow DK, and that's all they had, and I was like, this is very strange. So yeah, there's definitely been some sort of shortage.
I wonder if that's because lots of people have decided to take it up as a hobby.
If we've had an influx in the group, haven't we? Since lockdown. I think because we were just short of 7,000 members, weren't we, on our Facebook group? Yeah. And now we're at 10,600, and that's just been throughout lockdown. Not throughout lockdown, since the pandemic started.
And then a lot of people will comment when they first join the group and say, oh, I'm very new to crochet, will I be able to do this? So like, there is a lot of people that are quite new.
They call themselves lockdown learners.
Yeah, I love that.
That's brilliant.
What time to pick up a new hobby?
Well, they've learnt a new skill this year when everything else has gone belly up. At least they've got something to show for it, which is nice.
Yeah. It's but yeah, I think it's a mixture of people, more people taking up a yarny craft, and perhaps some of the yarn. Are they mills? What are they?
I think they're mills, aren't they? Yes. Yeah, where they're spinning the yarn and
manufacturers.
Yes.
Maybe I don't know, maybe they were furloughed, who knows? But yeah, apparently there is a bit of a shortage. Hopefully nobody listening to this goes out and panic buys, because that would just be dreadful, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine?
Making stitches causes people to panic buy yarn.
I don't want that on my conscience. Please, don't panic buy. Save some for the rest of us, please. Oh dear. So ladies, I know we haven't got a crystal ball and we can't exactly tell what the future is going to be like, but what kind of creative goals have you got that you think you might be able to achieve in the next few months going into 2021?
Am I allowed to say, Linda? A little bit. Well, we have something coming out in springtime.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's about as big, yeah.
But no, we have got a cal coming out around about springtime. Which we're quite excited about. We're very excited about that.
Really?
And I think this year as well, we've both, because I know we run the crochet sanctuaries and there's a lot of work that goes on behind it, but actually, you know what, we do it, we started them because we wanted to go on retreats. And we've really, really missed them. And we have said that this year we are going to, well, once this pandemic's done and dusted, we are going to start to push ourselves a bit more, not just focus on the crochet sanctuary itself, and perhaps do
we're going to try and be more professional at our lives, aren't we? That's the crux of it. So we are going to try doing more things, and not just weekend and days like in the hotel setting. We're going to look at doing other things in other places and
workshops.
And
we don't put ourselves forward for stuff like that, do we? Like with yarn shops and...
Not really, because we sort of design the cowls and we design for the sanctuary, but we don't often just design things that we just release and things. So we just want to push ourselves a bit and become a bit more professional.
But yeah, we've been looking at venues around where we are, and just perhaps just running local workshops, and rather than waiting for a month for a crochet sanctuary, and just doing stuff perhaps weekly or fortnightly as well, and the podcasts.
Thank you, Linda Rose and Lisa. I wish you all the best for your plans for next year, and hopefully before too much longer I'll be able to meet you in person. Now, back during lockdown, as with all of us who took part in the Pandemonium Cal, so many people turned to crafts as a way of helping them cope with the circumstances we were living through. A couple of months ago, I asked whether anyone out there listening to the podcast would like to share their own Stitch story from this year, and I'm really thrilled to say I have 4 Stitch stories to share with you. The first is from Lisa, a crocheter and textile artist who's based in Macclesfield. She makes beautiful crochet jewellery and machine-embroidered cards and pictures, amongst other things. Lisa began by telling me about the crochet workshops she used to run in pre-COVID times.
There's nothing like passing on a skill for life, and someone either having a lovely afternoon and tea and cake and a nice, meet and greet and get to do something. But most of my clients, I would say, got the bug, and that was it. They were off. And then I was doing improvers workshops or special workshops to make a certain shawl, etc. I'd post a Wilma Westenberg shawl on my Instagram, and the next thing you'll be getting messages from people saying, "Oh, Lisa, can you do a workshop for that? Can you do a workshop for that?" Blah, blah. So yeah, it all took off, and it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I've had people who have done my workshops, learned to crochet with me, and then progressed wanting to do other projects, who have said to me things like, I used to suffer with chronic migraines, and since crocheting, it's really, really manageable. They're under control. I've had people contact me, during lockdown. Oh, Lisa, I'm so grateful that I learned to crochet with you. There's not a day that's gone by that I haven't crocheted. It got to the stage where I was teaching left-handed. I'm right-handed, but I was teaching people to crochet left-handed, taught myself left-handed. I'm fairly ambidextrous anyway, but I taught left-handed, and it was amazing. So many left-handers would say to me, oh, I can't crochet because I'm left-handed. And I'd say, oh, boomph, no way, I'll show you. And it's because they were always taught by a right-hander. There was no way they could get it, because getting my head around doing it left-handed took a little while. So for a left-hander to be taught right-handed, it just wasn't going to work for them. So yeah, I've got scores of left-handed crocheters out there now who never thought they could because they hadn't been shown. So yeah, the workshops were my life. I mean, it takes a lot of time, the admin, as you can imagine, going backwards and forwards. But yeah, absolutely loved it. And that is what I really, really miss. Really miss the workshops.
Oh, you must do. Just that contact with other people that we're not allowed to have anymore, sadly.
Exactly. And a lot of people I've seen, out and about doing workshops, but they've got these huge, great big workrooms. And that's great. But with crochet, as you'll know, I literally used to grab people's hands, with permission, and guide them through the actual motion until they could feel it for themselves, and then they were off. And there's no way you could get that close to anybody at the moment, so we'll pivot the business and carry on sewing the cards.
Oh dear. So how have your crafts, your sewing and your crochet got you through this year?
At the beginning of lockdown, we're in the house and nobody knew how long it was going to last at first. When you look back, you forget that we didn't know. We thought it would be a few weeks, 3 weeks. We'd just never seen anything like this, so we all couldn't get our heads around it. And so and obviously I had to cancel all my workshops, which was really sad. And then I started doing we used to come out every week and clap for carers.
Yeah,
do you remember
Thursday
that?
night.
Thursday evening. I live in quite a small residential street, but we'd all come out and clap. And what I started doing, my neighbour got me into actually, the very first week we locked down, put the fairy lights up in the garden. And so we did that. And then I started to make the crochet rainbows. I made a tiny little crochet rainbow and I put it in the window. And then I thought, I'll make another one next week as it went on. And then I thought, right, okay, I'll make one for every week that we're in lockdown. And it was to ground me, really, because I wasn't working on a project. I didn't feel creative because my head wasn't in the right place. And so I started it kind of for the boys, that I'd do this, I'd be sitting in the same room with them. And so I started doing one different rainbow pattern every single week and hanging it in the window. And then I started making them for friends as well, who I thought might need a little pick-me-up, just to say, I'm thinking of you, sending you my love and whatnot. And then I started getting orders for them, which I wasn't advertising and didn't advertise, purely because there was a bit of, I don't want to be seen to be jumping on the bandwagon kind of thing. But anyway, every week I would make my little crochet rainbows to go in the window. And while it didn't make everything, or my anxieties or my worries and concerns, etc., go away, it did help me to sort of sit down and breathe. The rhythm of the actual making the stitches just calmed you, like as if you were stroking a pet, a cat or a dog, just grounded you a little while it was all still going on, but you could just calm yourself a little bit. And I also, during the beginning of lockdown, made some sewn masks, just fabric masks. And I didn't want to be jumping on a bandwagon, so I did those for UNICEF people. I made a batch, And the way it worked was I'd seen that you just text this number to UNICEF and it automatically gave like a £5 donation. So the way it worked was people would contact me for one, and then they'd have to take a screenshot, I'm a bit mean, a screenshot of their payment to UNICEF, yeah. And I'd cover the postage myself. So again, that was sewing. And while I only made one batch, it still focused me, and it made, I wasn't making scrubs, I wasn't doing anything amazing, but it just mentally helped me feel as if I was doing something. I mean, we all felt so useless, didn't we?
Yeah, there's just nothing you can do other than stay at home and do what you're told, really, isn't it? But I guess... Yeah, you were able to
I'm lucky. I've got a huge, great big stash of fabric, a huge, great big stash of yarn.
I think most of us do, to be fair.
I just kept going and going. I didn't need to buy anything. And I stopped actually making the rainbows on the after the 10 weeks, because I forget the lady's name now, which is terrible. She was the nurse, wasn't she, that got it all going, that started up the clapping for carers, etc. And she said, right, let's call it a day now after that 10 weeks. So that's when I thought, right, yeah, I'm going to stop, because I'm hanging them all in the window. I mean, some of them like pom-pom garlands, etc. But my husband was just like looking every week thinking, my goodness, we're not going to see daylight if she carries on much longer. So I stopped that for a bit. But what was really nice about that time was someone got in contact with me through Instagram. I think it's called not the People's Project. Oh gosh. Oh, what are they called? It was the People something or another anyway. And what they do is they massive, great big commissions that they do worldwide is where they collect lots and lots of photographs, thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs, and make it into a great big mural. And what they were doing was one for the NHS, and it was called the sort of Rainbows in Windows for the NHS, etc. And they did this great big exhibition where I think it was, get me wrong, it might be 20,000 images. And they had it in Piccadilly Circus, on the big screen in Piccadilly Circus. And it was just a picture of like clouds and a rainbow and a blue sky. But when they've got it on their website, when you zoomed in, you could see they were all made up of individual pictures. And through my rainbows in Windows, they picked up on me, and one of my little pictures of my little rainbow and my fairy lights is in there somewhere at the top. So that was a really nice thing, to feel part of a bigger thing. And when you looked at all these other photos, it was all people's COVID photos, and so many other people in that one picture all together. Yeah, so that was something weird that came out of it unexpectedly,
That was Lisa, also known as Teal and Tangerine Maker on Instagram, who's based in Macclesfield. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing your stitch story. This year, amidst the pandemic, my family moved house and countries from Gibraltar, where we'd been living for over a decade, back to Manchester, where I grew up. Now, one of my Gibraltarian friends who I had to say goodbye to is Sarah. She contacted me to say she'd like to tell me her story, how returning to the crochet she'd learned as a child had helped her cope with the stresses and strains of lockdown, working from home and keeping the family entertained and educated.
It's something that I'd kind of left in the wayside for quite a number of years. There's always like the kind of like bag of yarn, isn't there, at the back of your wardrobe from like projects that you're not quite, finished. Anybody who's been a crafter, a knitter or a crochet person can relate to that. But I really got into it while having been like locked, away, and especially because I'd been suffering from quite a lot of stress at the beginning of this year. 2020 really hasn't treated us very well. And basically, it was nice to go back to it, and it's quite meditative. And I've managed to finish a few pieces, which I hadn't done in a long time. I've got myself, and it kind of links me up to other really quite relaxing like pastimes, like listening to books, audio books. So it's almost like being able to have like two positive pastimes for the price of one. Which is, you know, I listen to my book and I kind of like get on with my repetitive kind of like, you know, crochet, and it's brilliant. It really, you know, and winds me down at the end of the day.
Is it something you think you'll stick with if we ever do return to normal?
Well, it's something that I've always done. This kind of like goes back to a way when I was like, you know, a young child. My mum's always been able to spot when I've been a little bit stressed out, because she says, "Oh, look at her, she's at her stress blanket again." And if you saw my stress blanket, it's kind of like a history of Sarah and crochet over the years. It started when I must have been 11. And it's a knobbly old kind of blanket made out of different bits, which I would return to when I'm feel like I need to kind of like switch off and kind of get into that stitching, and it's almost like mindless stitching. Yeah, I'm not making anything, so it's definitely something I'll stick to, and absolutely, yeah.
That's remarkable. So it's your stress blanket has been on the go since you were about 11.
Yeah, it's been hiding, to be fair. It's been hiding in my mum's attic for the past maybe 10, 15 years. Probably since, like when I got back from when I got back from training age 30 or so, just before Finley was born. And I swear, it was like a 20-year-old like job. And it was like, I didn't do much of it because, as you can imagine, like each kind of like circle, it was a circular one, yeah. And each little bit would take me like absolutely ages, and you know, my rate of crochet age 11, 12, 13 wasn't my rate of crochet, you know, in my 20s, thankfully. Because they would have taken it over. And obviously, you know, there were other bits and other projects that I would do. But the stress blanket, honestly, now, age 45, I think I would lay it on my bed because it's got so much character. But it was pretty much not a functional object.
So what colours have you got in it?
Well, all of them, really. But you see, that's what makes this stress blanket really quite meaningful and characters, because I can spot they were, you know, spare bits of yarn that my granny and my mum gave me from having made little jumpers or little projects for all of the kind of like grandchildren. So there's like one which like this kind of dusty blue that always reminds me of my cousin, because he had a little like jumper made out of that, and it was almost like a favorite jumper. There's bits that were a shawl blanket for like christening. I think it must have been like my cousin's niece, my cousin's christening. You know, so I know because it's a particular fluffy one.
Wow.
For all the colours. I mean, like seriously, it's a mess, but it's you know, where I honed my skills.
It's a special mess by the sounds of things, though.
Yeah. It's got. I mean, you know, at one point it was all blues, and then blues and whites, no? And then it slowly turned into like little bits of pink and burgundy and you know browns. I think it kind of and the brown. Now that I mentioned the brown had like a little bit of a kind of a yellow kind of like bits in the yarn. And that was from a waistcoat that my mother crocheted for me. So, you know, it's got a lot of meaning, really. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah, for sharing the story of your stress blanket. What a special, long-standing work in progress that is. Now back to one of my previous guests on Making Stitches. Back in episode 2, I spoke to Eleonora Tully, the crochet designer behind Coastal Crochet, and some wonderful creations, including 3 blanket crochet alongs to date. Her episode went out at the start of her 2020 crochet along called The Beachcomber Blanket, which, like so many of her projects, was inspired by her surroundings on the south coast of England. I spoke to Eleonora again a couple of weeks ago and asked her how her year had been since.
2020 is a year like no other, and as you say, in one way, here we are at December, nearly the end of the year. You think, gosh, wow, that was quick. But on the other hand, what a year where it's just dragged for obvious reasons. So yeah, unbelievable, really.
How's it been for you in a crochet sense?
In a crochet sense, it's actually been incredibly busy. I think last time I spoke with you, my beachcombing crochet along had just started. I think we just launched week 1. And it's amazing. I think because the timing of that, completely unintentional on my part, was in the midst of the initial pandemic and obviously the initial lockdown. I think a lot of people turned to creativity and crafts to keep themselves sane during those really difficult first few months. So the crochet along just became amazing because lots of new people learning to crochet, sort of word of mouth. So again, it snowballed into something really amazing, and kept me very busy. So it was great, and I think lots of people who finished the blanket, I had lots of messages, people thanking me that it had really helped them through that first lockdown, which was really lovely for me to hear. And it was a completely unexpected sort of, side effect of the first crochet along. Amazing. Yeah.
I think an awful lot of people have found it really important to have something creative that they can focus their attentions on, because it's something you can do at home. It doesn't require much equipment, just a hook and your imagination and some yarn, really. So would you say that it's been really important to you as well, from a personal point of view?
100%. I think, again, when we first spoke, I'd just launched the crochet along. And when you're actually doing the crochet alongs, I'm making sure the patterns are all ready. I've got my photography all done, the video tutorials, I'm responding to comments. So during the crochet along, I'm quite active and quite sort of busy with it. It keeps me going. And it wasn't until it ended, so I think it ended in June time, and I suddenly thought, gosh, and I felt a little bit lost for a few weeks. And, on reflecting on that, I thought, my gosh, that crochet along kept me going as much as the people who had joined in. I just didn't realise it at the time. I was just on the treadmill of doing it. So, yeah, absolutely. The whole, crochet along and the community and the togetherness just kept me going in ways that I am very grateful for, definitely.
Oh, that's lovely to hear, because certainly you see comments on social media of people who've taken part in these things and they've said themselves how much it's helped them, but it's interesting to hear that it's helped you as the creator as well.
Absolutely, and that really surprised me. That sort of came out of nowhere right at the end. I thought, gosh, wow. So that makes it made it special for me too, which is lovely. It's nice that it's a two-way process for the people taking part and me as a designer too. So really lovely.
Oh, that's great. Now, looking ahead to 2021, of course, we're all hoping that things are going to improve on many, many scores. What kind of things are you hoping to achieve in your crochet design and creativity generally?
Wow, gosh, yes, 2021. There will be another crochet along. It's become an annual event. I've done 3 now, so the next one will be my 4th. And yeah, I've kind of committed to that for the time being an annual event. So I've already started designing it. Actually, I've finished designing the next one, and hopefully over the next few weeks, just before Christmas, I'll be able to release more information about that and maybe give some sneak previews, because it's all ready to go, really. So I'm hoping to launch that sort of end of February time, beginning of March, around that time. So there will be another crochet along. And I've got other commissions too. I've got some commissions for some other sort of companies, design work that I'm busy doing behind the scenes. So there's a lot of behind the scenes crochet for me at the moment, which hopefully I'll be able to share with you all in 2021. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good year.
Absolutely. Well, that's great that we've got something to look forward to, and not too long to wait then, the end of February, beginning of March. It's not that far away, is it?
No, not that long at all. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, Eleonora, would you have any message to any of the people who've taken part in your crochet alongs over Christmas?
Gosh, I just hope that everybody has a really a lovely Christmas. It's going to be a different Christmas. Obviously, big family gatherings are probably not going to be possible. Just to stay safe and hopefully embrace what we're doing now, which is that technology. So still being able to see people face to face, it's not the same, is it? But just keep those connections going. Keep sharing the crochet and keep doing the crochet, because in all the madness, just having that crochet and those stitches to focus on, I think can be a really helpful distraction, and it's good. It's good for us. So keep crocheting and keep sharing, definitely.
Oh, that's wonderful, Eleonora. Thank you so much for speaking to me, for making stitches today. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, and let's keep everything crossed for a great 2021.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. You too.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what Eleonora has in store for us with her next crochet along in spring. Back to Stitch Stories now, and Diane from Stitchscape. Diane loves to quilt and embroider and runs workshops and socials where other fans of sewing can get together and enjoy their craft all together at the same time. That, of course, has been impacted with the COVID restrictions put in place this year. Diane looked at new ways of connecting with people instead and started her own podcast as well as online meetups.
What I also set up was a Zoom social quilt along. I invited people to join a Zoom meeting every weekday night. Yeah, I think it was about 9 of us, and we met 5 nights a week for 40 minutes at a time for 3 months. And we sewed, obviously we talked for 40 minutes because on Zoom you get 40 minutes for free. So we used to do and again it's enough because we're doing it, meeting that often in a week. So 40 minutes a night is actually quite a bit of time. So we all really did give ourselves to this group, and we did challenges. We all made the same quilt but in our own fabrics, and that quilt was designed by Jane, who was in the group as well. And Jane works for Cotton Patch. And then there's Jenny, who has a long arm quilt machine, and she was in there. There was somebody from America, but most of us from the UK, one in Northern Ireland, Heather in Northern Ireland. So these fabulous people that I got so connected with in that lockdown period for 3 months, that was a real godsend. That was just brilliant. And we still meet once a month now, and we still do challenges for each other, and we made gifts, and it's just been such a great group, really has. And they all get their quilts quilted by Jenny now. They send them off to her to do her in a long arm, and it's just fabulous. And hopefully we'll get to meet next year sometime, or meet, for those of us who hasn't actually physically met, we'll hopefully get an opportunity to all meet up in the flesh next year and have a right good old bevy to celebrate.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, definitely a plan. And also, in between all of this, sewing. Somebody I know, Kirsty, called it over-sewing. She called it like you almost sew too much, like constant, just one project after the other, because you just so want to be in that happy place of just looking at the colours and the patterns of the beautiful fabrics, the way you're cutting it, the way the pieces fit together, getting the tool out to do this, sitting down to do it. Your whole world is just looking and feeling and experiencing those pretty nice things. So I think that's what we felt by over-sewing, is that therapy of just forgetting all the difficult things that are going on and just feeling that space and seeing that space. It's just, and that's all your listeners will know exactly what I mean. for whether they do crochet or knitting or embroidery, whatever they do, they will all understand that concept totally.
Well, I completely agree with Diane about using crafts to take my mind off what's been going on elsewhere. I've been guilty of overdoing craft projects at times myself. You can find Diane's podcast on Apple Podcasts. It's called Patchwork Play. Thanks very much for speaking to me, Diane. And finally, to our furthest flung stitch story. This has been a global pandemic after all, and nowhere on the planet has escaped unscathed. For Rebecca, a mother of 2 in Ontario in Canada, crochet has been her solace to ground herself after a day at home with the children who've not been to school since March.
Well, definitely crochet is pretty much my main go-to for my calm down time and relaxing and all that stuff. I have tried my hand at knitting, which was very unsuccessful. I find it very difficult. So I pull it out once in a while, give it a little try again, but it's pretty fun. I don't know. My grandmother was a beautiful knitter, so I try to pull it out once in a while to, look, I'm trying. And embroidery, I do a little bit of embroidery, not as much, but I've played around with that a little bit. That's fun too.
Oh, super. Now, we were just chatting before we turned the microphone on, and you have been at home with your kids since March this year. Mm-hmm. How have crafts helped you cope with what's been going on this year?
It's been very grounding and kind of like a refocus for me because, as you know, like being a mom, that during the whole day you're just being kind of pulled in all different directions, and you gotta, you're always there for everybody else. And at the end of the night, it's sometimes hard to just kind of pull yourself back to yourself and just finding things for you to do that, aren't kids stuff or just, so it's nice to have that focus. And at the end of the night, that's what I try to do, is sit down and take a few minutes for me and, not necessarily making anything in particular, just stitching away and just letting everything release through crocheting. It
can be very therapeutic, can't it? Just the repetition of the movements of rows or whatever it is you're working on.
Absolutely, it's very freeing too. It's just a way to just release everything, and it's just a very, creative outlet, and I really enjoy it.
And what about the craft community online?
Oh my goodness, it's just amazing. The connections that I've made are just it's just a nice way to bring everybody together in a way that everybody's rooted in the same craft, and it's just, if you need some inspiration, I can, I open up Instagram and I browse through and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's just so much color and texture and ideas, and it just kind of sparks that creativity again. If you need a little bit of inspiration, or you need some ideas, or just you need a pick me up, it's a beautiful thing to be part of. It's wonderful.
I find it an incredibly supportive community as well. There's very little judgment out there, isn't there?
I've been very fortunate to have met so many wonderful people who are so welcoming and just encouraging. I could name off so many people who I could send a question off to, and I know that they would reply, and very happily help me out with anything. And, I would be the same way to them. It's a very supportive community to be part of.
Yes, I totally agree. Now, it's been quite a year, hasn't it, with one thing and another. Looking to the future, what would you say were your craft goals for next year?
Crafty goals for this year. Definitely yarn dyeing. I tried a kit this year and it really sparked something. So I think that's something I want to try to do more of next year. Trying new yarns, new weights of yarn, and just, there's so much out there, and I just want to try it all. I don't know what I would make with it yet, but I just want to try it. I'd like to keep up with maybe releasing a couple new patterns, and just continuing to connect with other people and just make meaningful, positive content to share with everybody else.
Thank you, Rebecca, for sharing your stitch story. I look forward to seeing what you produce next year. And if you'd like to see Rebecca's work, you can find her at Sweet Bee Crochet on Instagram. She's been making some really cute crocheted Christmas decorations lately. And that brings this rather long Christmas episode of Making Stitches to an end. Thank you to all of my guests on this episode and everyone who's spoken to me for the podcast this year. I've really enjoyed speaking to everyone and I've loved being able to share those conversations with you. And thank you for listening this year. It's been great having your company. I hope that this has brought you a bit of Christmas cheer and that you've enjoyed listening to everyone's 2020 Stitch stories. That's all from me for Making Stitches this year. I'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with another episode for you featuring another inspiring maker. My name's Lindsay and this podcast was recorded and edited by me. You can also find me on my blog, Postcard from Gibraltar. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep safe, have a peaceful Christmas and all the best for the new year. And of course, enjoy your crafting.